Hey guys, I wanted to give you a quick update on the 2019 Alaska Airmen's Association raffle airplane progress. We're putting fabric on, so I wanted to show you a little bit about how that goes together. Andrew's over here, he's the man with the fabric. Basically, it's a pretty simple process. It's Polyfibers process, who sponsored all of the fabric covering supplies. And the envelope was donated by Preferred Air Parts Fabric Division, and they fit really well. We've always been happy with their sewing. So basically, this stuff is 100% polyester, and you can see it doesn't seem like much, but it's really strong. And the process is we put the envelope on, which an envelope is essentially pieces of fabric that have been sewn together to fit this particular fuselage. And in this case, being a wide body, it was a little bit different envelope to fit this airplane. So you drape that on there, you get it stretched by hand into position so there's minimal wrinkles, and then you go around and you do what Andrew's doing, is you just cut each little place where a protrusion sticks out. Try to get it as tight as possible. It helps to pre-coat it with a little bit of polytack, which is the cement, prevents spraying. And then you just go around with pencil. You can mark with pencil on this stuff. You don't want to use anything else because it can actually bleed all the way back through the paint when you get to that point. Show you some of the openings. You can see this is a gear attach point. Actually, no, this is a float fitting. But he's gone around and marked it with pencil where everything needs to get cut. And then he just cuts along his lines and fits it all in there so it all sits nice and snug. And once all these pieces are trimmed back to where they need to be, it'll get cemented down. And of course, first the fabric on the belly goes on. And that wraps around the tubes, and then the sides will come and wrap around onto the bottom. And then once that's glued, it'll get a finishing tape to cover up that seam. This was all fabric when we first put that envelope on, so all these openings for the baggage compartment have to get cut out. And you can see they've been heat formed around the edges, and then they get glued down to it. And once everything's glued and in position, then we heat shrink it with an iron at 350 degrees, and that makes it drum tight. You see right now it's not quite tight because it hasn't been heat shrunk yet. The belly has, so that's tighter.
So guys do know how to use an iron.
Yes, they do. And then,
secret's out.
Show you the sewn seam for the envelope. So basically they've sewn two pieces of fabric together all the way down the top of the vertical stabilizer, down the leading edge. This is always the fun part because it's kind of a compound. You're taking two dimensional pieces and putting them together to try to form this compound area. So you see there's kind of some wrinkles. This will get tightened up when it gets glued back there, but there'll still be wrinkles, and that's the magic of the iron. That'll all come out and be nice and drum tight. And then of course that seam continues all the way down the spine up to the top. And one of the tricks that we've learned over the years with consultation with Consolidated Aircraft Coatings, i.e. Polyfiber, is that if you start to shrink this, it's going to pull that seam off center. So you can either bounce back and forth side to side trying to keep that seam straight, or you can go along and about every 6 inches you rub polytack cement through that seam onto the top stringer, and that holds it in place for the shrinking process, so you get a straight line down the spine. You don't want to have a zigzag.
And the stitching on this is actually per the STC, right?
Yeah, it's an approved stitch, and of course it's been done with a machine, but you can hand stitch it, which I think
pretty cool.
If anybody's been following us for a couple of years, we did a video on a hand stitching episode where the envelope that we got from a different supplier didn't fit, so we actually had to sew our own. And I'm not that good with a sewing machine, so I hand stitched it with a baseball stitch, and it took 2 days. I think we time-lapsed that down to like 5 minutes.
So you know how to sew too.
Yeah, and hand sew too. So yeah, there's the update. So this will you'll start to see a lot more progress. We're hoping that this will get shrunk today, and then we'll start doing the poly brush process, which is the sealer. It's the pink stuff you can see over there. There's some flight controls for a different airplane that are in the poly brush stage. So that's the next stage, and then it's into the paint booth and silver and paint. So things are going to happen pretty quick. Stay tuned for much more progress.